Hey everybody, Danessa Gates here, Executive Performance and Leadership Coach. And today I'm discussing the 5 things leaders can do to build and shape company culture from the top down. Number 1, stop rewarding chronic override. Leaders often normalize the override of their own internal signals, and that type of behavior trickles down to their teams. I learned very quickly in corporate that when leaders answered emails late at night or made themselves endlessly available, that behavior appeared rewarded. So, in order to appear ambitious, productive, and worthy of advancement, I felt pressure to match that pace and availability. So, I did for decades until my body simply said no more. The problem with chronic override is that teams adapt to it too. Employees learn that maintaining performance means abandoning their own needs, their own boundaries, and their own recovery in order to keep pace. Number 2, teach leaders to recognize their own internal state shifts. Many leaders do not recognize those shifts in themselves under pressure, and that affects the entire environment around them. I supported several leaders where you never quite knew which version of them you were going to encounter on any given day. Their pressure, their reactivity, their urgency, it directly affected how their communication was received with me and with others. The bottom line is employees don't just respond to words, they respond to nervous system cues like tension, like urgency, but they also recognize calm and clarity, emotional regulation, and most importantly, psychological safety. Leadership presence shapes culture long before their policies do. Number 3, normalize recovery as part of sustainable performance. Recovery should simply be viewed as part of a sustainable performance plan, not separate from it. Employees pay far more attention to how their leaders behave during stress, during conflict, during times of uncertainty than they ever do to company slogans or value statements. Organizations need to become more aware of the gap between stated values and nervous system reality. For example, a company may say that they value balance and psychological safety, but if leaders are rewarded for their urgency, for their endless availability, and for their pressure based management, employees will adapt to that behavior instead. The behavior leaders consistently reinforce becomes the real culture. Number 4, create cultures where people can communicate pressure accurately. In many organizations, employees learn very quickly whether pressure can be communicated honestly or whether it needs to remain hidden. I personally spent years in environments where asking clarifying questions or expressing my bandwidth concerns felt risky because urgency and self sufficiency were implicitly rewarded. Over time, people stop communicating accurately and they start compensating silently underneath the surface. And that silent compensation, it eventually affects their decision making. It affects their communication, their creativity, their recovery capacity, and importantly, their team dynamics. Sustainable cultures, they require leaders who can tolerate honest conversations about pressure before burning out forces the issue later. And lastly, number 5, help leaders recognize the hidden cost beneath performance. One of the biggest misconceptions in leadership is assuming that continued performance means someone is functioning sustainably internally. Many high performers become extremely skilled at adapting and compensating underneath pressure while still appearing very productive externally, while still delivering results. But eventually, that hidden compensation cost starts affecting their clarity, their recovery, their emotional regulation, their communication, and most importantly, their long-term health and longevity. Leaders need to become more aware of the difference between visible performance and sustainable capacity. Otherwise, organizations unintentionally reward burnout patterns while mistaking them for commitment or ambition. So, those are the 5 ways I wanted to discuss today. So, I will repeat them again from the top. The 5 things leaders can do to build and shape company culture from the top down are: 1, stop rewarding chronic override; 2, teach leaders to recognize their own internal state shifts; 3, normalize recovery as part of sustainable performance; 4, create cultures where people can communicate pressure accurately; and last but not least, help leaders recognize the internal cost beneath performance. So thanks for your time today. Again, Danessa Gates, Executive Performance and Leadership Coach.